Team Novo Nordisk. We live with diabetes. Team Novo Nordisk is a global all-diabetes sports team of cyclists, triathletes, and runners, spearheaded by the world's first all-diabetes professional cycling team. We train and race like any other athlete. But living and racing with diabetes requires a different approach. Here's how we do it. My sport is cycling. I started competing when I was 22 years old. I first got into cycling as a way to manage my diabetes, and that led me to racing.
My sport is cycling. I first started competing when I was 18 years old. I was diagnosed with diabetes before I became a competitive athlete.
I was always competitive, and when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I had to figure out how I could be competitive again.
When I first started my sport, the challenges I faced were I had poor management of my diabetes, so I was really inconsistent. And for me, that's what made me start managing my diabetes better, was my inconsistency on the bike. I'd have great days on the bike and really bad days on the bike, and it always related to my blood sugar not being where it needed to be.
I learned that I needed to check my blood sugar, and I always needed to have food with me in case I needed it. In case my blood sugar was too low, then I'd have to eat something, or I would have to take insulin if my blood sugar wasn't where it needed to be.
The way I dealt with these challenges was, at first it really upset me and made me really frustrated, but then it eventually turned into what motivated me, because I knew managing my diabetes was something I could do, and that didn't have to be the reason of why I couldn't get to the level I wanted to get to on the bike.
When training, I check my blood glucose level before, during, and after training.
I test my blood glucose levels before, during, and after exercise.
When exercising, I test my blood glucose levels before, during, and after.
The question is, when do I not test my blood glucose levels? I check all the time.
So for an hour swim session, I'll have a couple drinks, a couple bottles. I'll have a sports drink in there and then a water. One, because hydration is crucial for everybody. And then I'll have the sports drink because as I burn sugar throughout that hour, it'll help replenish and keep my blood glucose in an optimal level. When I'm out for a long run, for example, I'll throw in a gel or two. It's a little bit easier to have food on the run as it is in the pool. But then I'll also have water and a sports drink with me as well.
When training, I take my nutrition very seriously. I'm eating based on how many calories I'm burning every hour, what my heart rate is, the intensity, am I going up mountains, am I going on flat roads? All of them are different, and each training ride has a different strategy as far as what am I going to eat that day.
During training, I will break up an energy bar into quarters and eat one every 30 minutes, and I also make sure to stay hydrated. For me, hydration is one of the most important parts in my training.
I'll sip on the sports drink and the water throughout my run, but then mix in about every 45 minutes to an hour that gel or that energy bar. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. Regardless though, I make sure that I check before, during, and after, so I have a good idea of where exactly they are.
During training, my glucose levels sometimes go high, sometimes they go low, but no matter what, I check a lot.
When I'm training, my glucose levels can go up, they can go down, but that's why I check, and I check often.
During training, the only thing that affects me weather-wise is if it's really hot outside, and for me, I just have to really focus on hydration.
The weather does affect my diabetes management. In the summertime, I find it more difficult. The heat and the dehydration really changes my diabetes management. I have to watch it much closer, and sometimes I might require some insulin during training. Sometimes I might require less insulin. When it's hot out, that's when I gotta stay on top of it the most.
Having proper hydration is crucial. Without that, diabetes management can be difficult. Making sure that my salt intake is spot on as well, so to avoid cramping and anything that could have a negative impact.
After training, my recovery process has to start immediately. The first thing I do is I check my blood sugar, and then I make an adjustment based on what it is. I'll take my insulin, and then it's time to eat some food to start that recovery and getting the sugars and carbohydrates back into my body. So I'll eat anywhere from 60 to 100 grams of carbs within 30 minutes of finishing exercise, and also I take in between 25 and 40 grams of protein at that time also.
After a long training, my recovery process is to make sure I have a good cool down and a recovery drink, and then I'll spend time making a well-rounded meal with that's healthy and got plenty of carbohydrates, and after that I'll stretch.
Everyone's diabetes is different. So if you do have diabetes, work with your healthcare professional to make sure you enjoy your sport safely.
Team Novo Nordisk's mission is to inspire, educate, and empower people affected by diabetes.
We ride, we run, we swim.
We race to change diabetes. We are Team Novo Nordisk.